All right, we are live, back again. After a month off, Facebook Live, I'm coming to you from Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste. Not so sunny today, nice and rainy, but we've been needing the rain here, so all is good. And I have my first person on. Welcome. As you join on, sign in, say hi in the chat bar, let me know who you are and where you're from. There we are again. Good. We are having a little bit of inclement weather, so hey, yeah, great to see you too, Nasir. Yeah, I was saying our weather is sort of poor today, so the internet sometimes gets affected by that. So please be patient if there is some. We can't always stay connected. Jenny, hey, Tennessee, great. Martin, hey, Martin. So people are joining on, people are coming on, and I'm just greeting you. Say hi, tell me where you're from. I've been away on vacation for the last month and a quarter, month and a week about. Wanted to let you know if you watch this recording after, there's always a period of about 4 minutes or so where I'm just kind of waiting, shooting the breeze with the people that join on, saying hi, so that we can get enough audience started. So if you're watching the recording, you can always skip to about 4 minutes in or something like that. What do we got? We got 12 folks so far, and welcome to all. I'll talk about my vacation a little bit. I was back in the United States for a month. Rythmia was closed for a month, and in that closure, it was closed to remodel and rebuild. So some places were remodeled. We've rebuilt a whole new gym and spa facility. It's a beautiful place, definitely 5-star. We've got a new Maloka. The place where we're holding the ceremonies has been expanded and is just amazing. A lot of different little work going on here and there. And so Rythmia continues to improve. Hi, Susanna in Connecticut. Hi, Amy in Chicago. And figure a few of us are, all my regulars probably like, what happened here? Why haven't you been on for so long? But they're probably wondering if I just stopped altogether. But nope, I was on vacation, and a much needed one at that. It was great to rejuvenate. I've talked before on these Facebook Lives about sharpening the saw or getting away, making sure that you have time. I think that Facebook Live was the value of retreats. So look that one up. But yeah, I sort of took my own retreat, got to see family, got to mountain bike and hike a little bit in the hills of Colorado, Crested Butte. So a lot of fun went on. For me, Tammy, hi Tammy, and Mary, hi Mary. And with that, we're about at 4 minutes in. We got a crowd. So lastly, Stephen, Autobiography of Yogi, thanks for recommending. Yeah, did you read it then? It is a spiritual classic, and it has definitely helped many people find their spiritual path or introduction to spirituality. So Autobiography by Paramahansa Yogananda. One of the things I did while I was away was go to the headquarters of the Self-Realization Fellowship. I got myself a new bangle. Dun, dun, dun. Used to be nice and shiny. Copper starts getting a little less shiny as wear and tear ensues, but it was good to see all my old monk friends. And Sydney can't wait to come. Good, we can't wait to have you. Christine, good to see you on. So officially welcome everybody to Facebook Live, Breathwork Edition. I'm your host on Fridays, R. Christian Minson, your catalyst for transformation and director of the Breathwork program here at Rythmia, certified transformational breath facilitator, senior trainer in breathwork for the last 12 years, former monk, and author and speaker. Traveled around the world. So here I am now at Rythmia, back again. We've had our first group after our month off, and this group is just going fabulously. It's a little bit smaller, which was nice to sort of ease in, but come next week, the group coming in is a much larger group, and then the 2 weeks after that are completely sold out. So Rythmia continues to grow and be more and more popular. So today I'm talking about the keys to transformation, 3 keys to transformation. And of course, this is going to be breathwork oriented. So these 3 keys really have to do with how we breathe. I always dwell a little bit on why this is important. And of course, transformation is what I'm all about, being your catalyst for transformation. Transformation is what Rythmia is all about. This place is here for transformation, and really, transformation is what life is all about. The evolution of our consciousness, which requires us to transform from our lower conscious state into higher and higher conscious states of being. So transformation really is the name of the game, and when we realize that, then we start looking for the tools and the tricks and the tips that are going to make transformation more of a fun game. Think about it this way. Transformation is the name of the game, and it's going to happen whether we like it or not. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not. It's going to happen whether you're conscious of it or not. The difference is when you're not conscious of it, when you don't want it, when you're not aware of it, it usually happens painfully. It happens to you in ways that you're not aware of because it's life pushing you into that awareness. It's life pushing you into growing more. Whereas as you start to become more conscious that the evolution and the transformation that results is really the name of the game, then we can start looking for ways to elegantly navigate that transformation, to make our life path of transformation fun, to make it exciting, to make it more easeful and graceful. And so that's what I'm talking about today. Mary says, 49 days to go to Rythmia. Here we come again. Yeah, it will be good to see you again. She's in Wyoming. So that's why we're talking about this particular topic today. So now specifically when we're talking the 3 keys to transformation, I mean, there's many keys, many tips or tricks, but being the breathwork director, being a breath facilitator and trainer for the last 12 years, my focus is really on the breath and the techniques of breath work that most astutely bring about that transformation. So the 3 keys that I'm talking about today are really 3 keys to modifying your breathing behavior, essentially, in order to set you up to transform your experience from negative, stressed out, uptight, stuck, painful, to an experience that's more positive, that's more relaxed and flowing, and ultimately more pleasant and beautiful. Life is going to happen whether we like it or not. Our lives progress on, and so it's really up to us when we start to realize that we have the conscious choice to make life miserable or to actually get in alignment with how life can be a beautiful experience. Anton coming in October. Excellent. Staying for 2 weeks. Beautiful. We're seeing more and more of that happening. We've got 2 people here this week that are staying for 2 weeks, and one that is contemplating staying a second week after having been here first week. And I can't think of especially if you're coming from a faraway place. I'd recommend that, especially for Australians, because it takes like 30 hours to get here, and it's not a cheap trip for Australians to get here. So, but for anybody really, it's great to have, you just get that first week to sort of settle in, that second week to just really go deep. But whether you come for a week or two, you're going to get some massive transformation happening here. So we talked about why this is important, what we're really talking about. Let's get into it. How? What are these 3 keys to transformation? And here at Rythmia, when I'm teaching the breath work, I use 3 words to help anchor these concepts. These are 3 F words, and not perhaps the F words you're used to hearing. These are very positive F words, and those are full, free, and flow. If you've been here before and you've heard that from me, give me some hearts or likes across the page. But that's full, free, and flow. Remember those words. Write them down, because if you remember those words, then you can remember underneath those words what I'm going to explain about each of them. And then you can take this knowledge with you everywhere you go and practice it. If you're riding a bus, if you're walking down the street, when you wake up in the morning, you can apply these principles to almost every breath you take. And really that is my goal, is to make every breath you take a transformational experience. So full. When we talk about full, we're talking about really fully breathing. To use our full respiratory capacity. Our lungs have actually 3 lobes in the right side, 2 lobes in the left side. That's because your heart is there in the left side. So when we breathe shallow, we're really only getting air into those upper lobes of the lungs. So we're really wanting to get that breath down into the lower lobes of the lungs and all the way up. Most of us, there's an epidemic in poor breathing these days, and the vast majority of people breathe at about only 20% of our capacity. So if you think about it, oxygen is our #1 energy source, and if we're taking in only 20% of that energy, we're basically leaving a boatload of energy on the table. And if you have symptoms of tiredness, of fatigue, of life being a chore, of mental fogginess, of difficulty sleeping, all of these are caused because you're not getting enough natural energy to begin with. So full means to take this full deep inhale. And we start by doing what we call a diaphragmatic breath, a belly breath. And I bring this down here for a second. You see my belly. As we inhale, that belly just expands nice and full. As you exhale, that belly deflates. Just imagine that there's a balloon in your belly. And that balloon inflates on the inhale and deflates on the exhale. And if all you can do is get that breath in the belly, that's a bonus. Because what you're doing then is you're getting the air down into the lower lobes of the lungs, which actually is where 75% of the blood vessels that carry the oxygen to the rest of the body reside. So if we can get that breath in the lower lobes of the lungs, ultimately we're generally getting more oxygen, but we're also getting more oxygen delivered to the body where it ultimately needs to be. I've been working out to get money together to get there, but it hasn't been easy. That's Greg, sorry. That's okay, Greg. Just, keep up with the intention. Of course, join the mailing list and all that on the Rythmia website, and you can, rythmia.com, and you can apply for the contest, or you're automatically entered if you subscribe to get the emails. for a free trip, and people win those regularly. That's once a month, I believe, we get those free trips. So, and then just keep saving. Put a little bit away each week. But so back to the topics. So full, we want to get that inhale into the belly, so this nice diaphragmatic breath. Then we bring it all the way up into the chest. So if anything else, if that seems difficult for you, go lie on your belly. Lie down on your belly on your bed or on the floor. Put your head down. You can put it to one side or the other, or rest it on your hands. You can have a pillow underneath you. But by lying on your belly, your body naturally goes into a more harmonious breath pattern. It tends to bring that breath right into the belly to begin with. So, so try that to get the full breath going. Hey, Deborah is here. Deborah from Colorado. I just saw her while I was in Colorado. Good to see you online. Good tip. My blood pressure is bothering me. Great, Tom. Sydney, I'm so grateful that I did win the contest last month. Can't believe it. See, so people do win, and congratulations, Sydney. Definitely let me come introduce yourself to me when you come. Do you know when you're coming? I'd like to look out for you. And Greg will do. Excellent. And so you just see Sydney won, so it's possible you could too. All right, so we talked about the first key of transformation, a full inhale. This is the key to transformation with regards to your breathing. We want to take those full inhales, and this is going to give you more oxygen and give you more energy. Point blank, where we are run by oxygen. If we run out of oxygen, our vehicle dies pretty quickly. So it makes sense that we're trying to maximize our ability to get that oxygen. And you know, there's various external methods. I've been in what's known as a hyperbaric chamber a couple of times, and that really oxygenates the blood. It's a very profound experience. I highly recommend trying them out. You can get ozone therapies where ozone just brings extra oxygen into your blood, but you know, all those require you to find an external source, and you know, those things cost money too. Breathing is free, and just by learning to modify your breath so that you focus on taking deep breaths with every breath you take, you'll be amazed at how much better you feel, how much more energy you have, how much more clarity in your thoughts, how much you sleep better even. So all this can happen just from that first key of transformation. So that's the full breath. The second key we're talking about was free. So when we're using that word free with regards to our breath, the first thing we're really talking about is our exhale. That our exhale should be free. And when you think of the word free, what do you think of? You know, when you're free, you're relaxed, you have, you know, you don't have any cares, your life is easy, it's graceful. And this should characterize that exhale, to be free, relaxed, right? So the best thing we can do is when we're breathing is really focus on, am I being relaxed as I'm breathing? Is it, you know, am I really putting more effort into breath than I need to? Interesting fact, the diaphragm down here, which we were just talking about when we were talking about the full part, the diaphragm is actually your only breathing muscle. It's the muscle that controls this process of breathing. And, you know, you actually don't need any other muscles to breathe. Now you see people, you know, your ribs expand, your shoulders might move a little bit when you're breathing, but all this is just secondary muscle action. There's basically muscles responding to the fact that you're filling with air. But then you might see people, or even yourself, like breathe like this. You know, all I'm basically doing, I could do this even if I'm not breathing, right? This doesn't actually enhance my breathing in any way. In fact, it's actually expending energy. It's taking energy away from me. You know, I'm bringing energy in when I'm breathing, but then I'm expending more energy perhaps than even I'm taking. So Sydney, not sure when she's coming, somewhere next year. Baby 5 months ago. Wow. Oh, yeah. It's hard to leave a newborn. But congratulations on that. And Susanna, planning a return trip. Good. And Greg, you blood cancer, and hope Mother Ayahuasca and Rythmia can help. Well, this is one of your best places to be there, Greg. So I empathize with you, and you know, pray that you'll get here sooner than later. So back to that free. So the exhale is free, but if you think about it, the free also characterizes your breath in general. The whole nature of your breath should be free. It should be relaxed. And in fact, when we're doing this breathing process, which we practice in our breath ceremonies here at Rythmia, we're looking for a state where the breath starts breathing us, where we are so free, in other words, so relaxed that we're not even forcibly or actively working the muscles, but the muscles are working themselves to create this breath pattern. And we call that activation, when the breath starts breathing you. And this is really when some amazing things can start happening. So when we're thinking about free, you know, we got the full breath in. So even when we're taking a full breath, we don't want to do that all tense and, you know, get activated in that way. But we want to just be relaxed. And the exhale is really the place to first practice that, because you know, when you exhale, what's happening when you exhale is the diaphragm, which again is sitting here, is this dome-shaped muscle. And as a dome, when you inhale, it more or less flattens, compresses. It's contracted in this position. So it's kind of like a stretched rubber band in that position. And if you were to just let go of a stretched rubber band, what happens? It goes back into its normal shape without you even doing anything. So the same with the diaphragm. If you just let go of the diaphragm, it goes back into its dome shape without you having to do anything. So this really happens on that exhale. We're really practicing letting go. Not a forced, like you might do in yoga, and what do you call that? The fire breath in yoga. It's not a controlled breath where you're taking every last bit of air out of you. It's simply a relaxed sigh. Okay, so that's the second key to transformation. The first one is full, taking a nice full breath, practicing getting anywhere from 80% to 100% of your capacity with each breath. The second is to keep your breath free or relaxed, and especially on the exhale, but really on every bit of the breath. Free, relaxed breathing. So full, free. And the third key we're talking about today is flow. And flow really characterizes the movement of the breath, how the breath ideally stays in motion. And what do you think of when you think of flow? Perhaps a river, right? I mean, a river flows, and if you watch a river, it's constantly in motion, right? That's what a flow is. It moves and continues to move without much effort. And so this is the same way with the breath pattern. We call this a circular breath pattern that we practice here. And like a circle, there's no beginning or end, right? You can't see a beginning or end in a circle. It's just a continuous movement. Wherever you start, you come back around, and seamlessly goes right back in. So on the circle, half the circle is our inhale and the other half is our exhale. And then we inhale and exhale. So when we're talking about flow with regards to the breath, really what we're saying is that we're not pausing during the inhaling and the exhaling. This is significant because focusing on your breathing helps keep you present to the present moment and to where life is actually happening. Life only happens in the present moment. It doesn't happen in the future. We can think all we want about the future, but the future never comes until it becomes the present moment. We can only experience the future in the present moment. And the same way with the past. We can't do anything about the past. The past is no longer in the present. At one time, the past was a present moment that we could experience, but as soon as that moment passes, it's in the past. So life doesn't happen in the future, and life doesn't happen in the past. Life only happens in the present moment. And this is probably one of the biggest setbacks people create for themselves, is they dwell on a daily basis too much in the future or too much into the past. And so the present moments are going by and you're not even present to your life happening because you're so focused on what's going to come or focused on what did happen and how much you regret it or regret that it didn't happen, that you're not able to actually be present to what is happening in your life right there. So by focusing on your breath happens in the present. The only place you can breathe is in the present moment. So we want to keep that breath flowing. If you pause, what happens then? So if the breath is flowing, it's flowing in a circular pattern, right? Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. We don't have any opportunity for our brain to go somewhere else because we're staying focused on our breathing, which helps us stay focused on the present. But if we pause our breathing, either inhale and then we pause before we exhale, or we exhale out and then we pause before we inhale, we're basically opening up little doorways which our mind can escape into the past or into the future, which then unfortunately takes us out of the present moment, takes us out of the actual experience of life. And this usually has fairly detrimental effects. So with the life flowing, think of, again, that river analogy, where when we keep that breath flowing, our life starts flowing. It's like we flow down the river. And when we come to some rapids, rapids being the challenges or tribulations in our lives, we move through them, we flow through them. I don't know if you've ever watched videos, or maybe you've done some whitewater rafting yourself, and you see how you navigate through those rapids. Is a really elegant flow happening. And of course, if you get caught up, if you don't find your flow, you might capsize or get thrown out of the boat. So really, this flow is helping us navigate the rapids of life. So let's just check in. Shelly Albers joined. Hey, Shelly, I just visited her in Crested Butte a couple weeks ago. Deborah just saying, really enjoyed the breath session that we did at the Salt Caves in Denver. It was very different in comparison to the breath work at Costa Rica. Oh, that's good. I'd love to hear how you felt like it was different. So we did the same technique, but of course, different environments, different groups. Always there's a little bit of, newness that the environment and all that brings about. And Sydney's saying, can't wait for you to teach me when I get there. I can't wait either. So come on down there, Sydney. All right, so here we've got, we pretty much went over the three keys to transformation. Full inhale, free, relaxed on the exhale and relaxed overall as you're breathing, and flow, meaning fluid, continuous circular breath. And of those three, if you had to master only one of them, I would say start with the flow. If you can keep that breath flowing, in other words, that we're not pausing, we're not stilted in our breathing, that we don't find ourselves holding our breath unconsciously for long periods of time, we keep that flow going. There was a scientist who did a TED Talk on YouTube, forget his name right off the bat now, but he really talked about how breathing can bring down our blood pressure, can bring down our stress levels, a lot of different physiological benefits to our health. You know, some of these things that we're prescribing all sorts of medications for, or you know, extreme measures. What he was basically saying is these things are affected by continuous rhythmic breathing. So we breathe in this rhythmic fashion, in and out. This pulse of breath happens. In this case, from what he was saying, it could be a faster pulse, it could be a slower pulse. The point is to make it consistent, that we're not breathing erratically, that we're not holding the breath and then breathing again, or that we're not breathing fast and then breathing slow, breathing fast, and you know, but that it stays consistent and fluid, stays in this flow, stays in this rhythmic flow. And that alone can have tremendous beneficial effects to you. But then when you add in the dimension of relaxation, that the breath stays relaxed, and the dimension of fullness, where you're starting to draw in more of this energy, of this oxygen energy, this gives you a well-rounded, healthy breath. We're all this is on the premise that we're breathing in this oxygen, and as we get more of it, what we're really breathing in the oxygen is life force energy, and we call it prana in Sanskrit, or in yogic terms oftentimes. Let me just see what, it was a different vibration. That's what Deborah was saying. In practicing the Hong Sa experience, the breathless state is encouraged. How does that relate to circular breathing? All right, so Tom is asking a question. There's spiritual breath techniques that really their focus is drawing in a breathless state. And I would say that when you are practicing these higher meditation techniques, yes, indeed, that if you're consciously focused on the breath, pausing, that's one thing. What I'm basically illustrating here, especially in the flow and not pausing in the breath, is not unconsciously pausing. When we unconsciously pause the breath, where that results in distraction into the past or the future. Also, in this whole three keys, if we keep that breath relaxed and fluid, you're not going to ever experience a conscious breathless pause if you're tense. You have to, your breath has to be relaxed and has to be very fluid, and then it naturally slows down and naturally comes to cessation. Now, we're also talking different purposes here, really. So when we're engaged in this meditative breath that you're talking about, Tom, the purpose is to reach that breathless state so that our soul disconnects from our body, that we start to dwell in the realms of spirit a little bit more. When we're doing this circular breath pattern, really we're reinforcing life, embodied life. We're reinforcing the day-to-day experience of life, and the energy that we need to operate life. And it's a very this is also an emotionally balancing process. So which I feel like is a preliminary step to really diving into more of these meditative techniques. If you haven't balanced your emotional state, if your life isn't on an even keel to some degree, you can practice all the meditation techniques you want, and all of your garbage, all of your repressed feelings and stuff are going to bubble up as soon as you try to quiet down. So by practicing this full, free flowing pattern on a regular basis, that's going to help condition you so that when you actually do go into one of these more meditative breaths, where maybe you are working on relaxing the breath so much that it pauses and stops altogether, you're going to have an easier time doing that. So I feel like the two really work together, even though it seems like they're at odds with each other. So hopefully that explains that for you. So it's a fairly short Facebook Live I got today. I just want to leave you with the idea, what if you were to practice this on a daily basis? And this is what I really encourage you to do, is now take these elements and work them into a 5-minute practice. So for 5 minutes each day, dedicate 5 minutes of time to sitting quietly or lying down, sitting back in a chair, however you want to do it, and practice breathing fully, breathing relaxed and free, and keeping it circular and continuous. And I guarantee if you just do this 5 minutes a day, you'll begin to experience shifts and transformation on a subtle level. It's also going to really prepare you and condition you for, if you're able to get to Rythmia here eventually, to go in and do these longer breath ceremonies that we do, which require us to breathe this way in accelerated fashion for about an hour. So it's helpful to have a little practice in advance, and that becomes a whole lot easier. But if your practice is just 5 minutes a day, you are going to set yourself up for elegantly transforming your life. Again, taking out the pain, taking out the stress, taking out the negativity, taking out the stuckness, and replacing it with positivity, with fluid experience, with a relaxed nature, and ultimately being very peaceful and blissful. So hopefully that helps out. Since we do have a little bit of time, if you have any questions or want to ask anything with regards to this subject or anything on Rythmia, go ahead and type it in. I will say, while I'm waiting to see if anybody does that you're welcome to continue the conversation with me on a personal level. You can find me on Facebook at R Christian Minson. And that's my profile, the letter R, Christian Minson. And if you friend me, the only thing that I ask is that you include a message, a Facebook message with it saying, hey, I saw you on Rythmia Live, I'd like to be your friend, or then ask whatever question you have or whatever. If you don't send me a message, if you just send me a friend request, it may be a long time before I accept that request, because I give first priority to people who actually message me, and I don't just accept every friend request that I get. So do that for me, even if you know that, even if you've been here before, I'd say, and even if you sent me a friend request, go in and send me a message and say, I sent you a friend request a while ago and you haven't accepted it yet. And then I'll remember that and then put you at the top of the list. Okay, so let's see a couple things. Greg said, is there somewhere we can get a demonstration or guide to follow to get ready? Well, that basically I gave you more or less a guide just now. There are some, look in the Facebook Lives. Archives, they also are archived in the Rythmia YouTube page, and there's, I forget the title of them right off. Some others that I've given more of a basic demonstration of this breath, so you can research that, but that should help you there, Greg. And then Mary, can you show us for a minute? All right, so both of you are asking that, so I'll go ahead and I'll do this again. So as you're breathing, full, free, and flow. Ideally breathe through the mouth. That's going to give you the fullest breath. As you inhale, you breathe in the belly, all the way up, and exhale and relax. Okay, so it's an inhale, nice and full. You can see my belly moving. Ideally, you can see my chest moving. The relaxed exhale, just easeful and graceful, and the connected fluidity of it. So the pace is going to be a little bit faster than you're normally used to. And if you do this for 5 minutes, or what we call 100 breaths. 100 breaths lasts about 5 minutes. You can count to 100, put on a timer. But that alone is going to start getting you to experience some of the benefits of this. Of course, the longer you do it, the more beneficial it becomes for you. And if you really want to do it longer, you could do 10 minutes, you could do 15 minutes. I caution you to do much more than that on your own, especially if you haven't done this with a facilitator before or been here at Rythmia, because it can bring up old traumas or repressed emotions, and not that there's anything inherently dangerous about that, but that you may be caught off guard and not know how to handle it, and you may get a little apprehensive or scared even and want to quit. And that's the last thing I want you to do, is feel like you have to quit the process. Greg, breathing is harder as my blood is thicker and I don't get a lot of air as it is. Yeah, so take it as you can, but you can still breathe fuller than you're breathing. You can still practice being more relaxed and more free in your breath. And you can keep that fluidity, even if you have to slow down a bit. All right, so Greg, take where you are and improve from there. Maybe your breath isn't the same as mine or the same as somebody else's, but you can take those steps to improving it. Sydney, I'll find you and request you. Great, Greg. And you'll rewatch this again. Cool. And Sydney, are you exhaling fully? That's a good question there. No, you don't have to get rid of every last bit of air. And in fact, there's a good reason for that. We want to keep some carbon dioxide in our system so that we don't hyperventilate, which is basically an imbalance of too little carbon dioxide in our system. So as we breathe, as we take those full inhales and bring a lot of oxygen in, we don't want to expel all our carbon dioxide, or we start to throw ourselves off balance, and then you could actually hyperventilate and potentially pass out. So if you just nice relaxed, whatever comes out in this relaxed sigh. So I'll breathe out, you feel that, and then I'm gonna so you could see there's a whole lot more air that I could ultimately let go of, but I don't need to. That's not, the purpose isn't to cleanse ourselves of all the air we got in us. That's a cleansing breath, and sometimes it's good to do that. If you're just, you want to start with that. I usually have people take a good full breath and just empty it all out and then get into this process. But when you're in this process, the exhale is just a relaxed sigh, and whatever comes out in the natural movement of the diaphragm, returning to its resting shape and pushing out a little bit of air, not controlling it and forcing out as much air as you can. So hopefully that helps you, Sydney. Greg, I just tried it, no problem with it. Thanks for your help. Excellent, Greg. And that's what I'm, and Sydney says, thanks for that. Good. Kristen, hey, Kristen, just joined. Unfortunately, we're just getting on the tail end here. So hopefully you'll go back and watch the recording. And for all of you, I'll be back next week on Friday. Know that Saturday we've got About Your Miracle, where usually Jerry Powell is interviewing somebody from the week here, our CEO. Sunday we have Meg, our chef, doing something about food and cooking. That's a real treat. And then on Monday we have Dr. Jeff, our resident psychotherapist, and he he gives some perspective. So we have a well-rounded four days of Facebook Lives that you can catch either live, or they always go up on the archives afterwards. Just look up video under the video tab in the Rythmia Facebook page, or go to the Rythmia's YouTube page. Again, friend me on Facebook. Make sure you include a message with it, or else you run the danger of me not accepting that friend request. And otherwise, I look forward to greeting you when you come here to Rythmia, and look forward to carrying on this conversation over the airwaves until that time. So until then, namaste. All right.